Continue here with the feedback on Mackey and Judd, turning the show over to you guys. So the Vikings obviously have a defensive coordinator opening. And Dylan Pease chimes in and says, I am a Wisconsin Badger fan and love Jim Leonard. His defenses were anything but prevent. They were aggressive. They were multiple.
Football.
Talk turkey.
And disciplined. As at Wisconsin, they needed to be gap disciplined because of the lack of athleticism. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Well, I'll come back to that. He also played for Mike Pettine as well, because he played 14 years in the NFL. He played for Mike Pettine for a chunk. And he played with Kevin O'Connell with the Jets, so that might be a pull if you wanted to keep Pettine just on the staff.
Yeah.
And he works with Jim Leonard. So that is the thing. Jim Leonard is out at Wisconsin because they hired Luke Fickell. But he oversaw some of the best defenses in all of college football. They were very much aggressive. And to Dylan's point, Wisconsin defensively was competing with some of the top teams in college football without the 4- and 5-star recruits that some of those teams have. You know, Wisconsin maybe gets like 3, 4, 5 4-star recruits in a recruiting class.
Right.
Ohio State gets 15. Michigan gets 14. Alabama gets 20. 15 to 20. So to be able to put up those defensive numbers as a defensive coordinator, and he was the interim head coach when things got weird this year, it's worth a look. And the fact that he spent 14 years as an NFL safety, he's only 40 years old, so you wouldn't just be hiring a college guy. Yes, his coaching experience is college, but he just recently retired like 5 years ago from a decade-and-a-half-long NFL career.
Yep.
I just did a Google search for Jim Leonhard. He is available to be hired, but there's really no steam outside of the Alabama steam. So apparently he is being thrown around as an Alabama defensive coordinator option. The only other thing that pops up is like a Packers or Wisconsin sports blog saying he should go to the Packers. So I don't know what, it's been awfully quiet on the Jim Leonhard front. I wonder if NFL steam picks up here at some point.
Certainly would
But
make a lot
I'm
of
interested.
sense. Yeah, and it would make a ton of sense. The thing I like too is I think he would fit really well with the coaching staff and like O'Connell. Like Ed, God bless him, but Ed's 60 something, and he came in and he's got ideas. Mike Pettine or Fangio taught me this or that. I sort of like the idea of a younger guy, aggressive guy again, guy who's going to swarm to the football, a guy who's going to have an aggressive
Football
mentality. I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but in football, defensively, there's nothing that drives me crazier than a passive defense, than a defense that sort of like is playing prevent to start the game. It's like, what are you doing? Especially in this league now where pressure on quarterbacks is so imperative. Like, you've got to get to people. And just to see the Vikings sort of forfeit the middle of the field consistently so we don't have deep pass plays, which, by the way, they didn't prevent. I think that this would be the type of hire that would be much more in line with what O'Connell wants from his people than Ed Donatel probably was.
Yeah. Well, something else of note, just digging deeper on the Pettine thing. So, you're wondering, what kind of defenses would Jim Leonhard? I think Jim Leonhard actually ran a 3-4 defense, at least the last few years at Wisconsin. He was the starting strong safety for 16 games during that 2009 Jets run. Wasn't that the year that the Jets with Mark Sanchez went
Played the
to
Broncos?
Yeah.
In the AFC Championship game right before the Saints Vikings started.
Yep.
All right.
So he started all 16 games at safety for the Rex Ryan, Mike Pettine defense that was one of the best defenses in the NFL in 2009. There are
There's
dots
steam here
to be connected here, okay?
Yep. And guess what, too? Rexy's defenses were multiple and super aggressive.
You mean you
Teams
can run
hated playing
wait,
Rex Ryan.
you can run a 3-4 base defense and be super aggressive and jam and blitz and be intimidating?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. I wasn't aware if that was part of the guidelines. So Jim Leonhard, someone to keep an eye on. I don't know why there's not more conversation. Why are all these? I guess if he was an option for the Vikings, why was he not an option for the Browns or some of these other teams that are looking for defensive the Falcons, right? There's
Perhaps
teams
it's
looking
hush
for
hush in Egan. Perhaps they're just keeping quiet below the radar.
maybe him and KOC have been. Well, let me paint a scenario, all right? This is not me reporting, this is me speculating.
I'm not saying this.
Reckless
They're zooming?
speculation.
When did who was the coach, the Wisconsin coach that got fired again?
Oh, Paul Christ?
Christ?
Paul Christ. Okay. So he got fired in early October.
Yeah.
And then Jim Leonard took over, but then the Luke Fickell stuff started to but when that happens and you're Jim Leonard, you're like, "Oh, whoa, okay, this is a pretty big shakeup happening here." The Vikings were trucking along pretty well, but then like in November as the college season came to an end, that's when the Vikings gave up 40 to the Cowboys, and they started giving up all these points, right? 34 to the Lions, the first half of the Colts, as the Wisconsin season's winding down.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that Jim Leonard, once the Wisconsin season starts winding down in early November, mid-November, and Kevin O'Connell starting to get really frustrated with his defense getting smoked on a week-to-week basis, he went public around that time saying, I told Ed Donatel, if I was attacking your defense, here are the things that I would look to do as an offensive mind, that maybe he's also texting some of his defensive-minded friends around the football sphere. Hey, what do you think of this? Hey, how you doing over there? Oh, man, I saw there was some turmoil in Wisconsin. What's going on with you? You going to stick around there?
You never know. That's
no,
completely
Kev,
reckless.
Kev, I don't think it's going to work out for me to stick around with Luke Fickell. Oh, so what are you gonna do? You want to stay in coaching? You want to stay in college? No.
And didn't Jim say when Fickell got the job initially, I think he said he planned to stay on as his DC. And then shortly after that, it disintegrated, and he's like, no, I'm not going to. Yeah. Perhaps KOC said, Jimmy, baby, we're only a few hours away.
How's your family doing? They still living in the Wisconsin area too? Oh, yeah, maybe we should meet in the middle at the Torpedo sometime, and we can get a beer together.
Toma, that gas station in Toma that became a sandwich shop. Meet me there.
Again, we are not reporting by any means that these conversations are happening.
No reporting being done here.
It's an interesting connection.
Reckless speculation.
Nice work.
All right, Ronnie Hippie says, why do we constantly complain about the lack of respect nationally about the success of the Vikings? I've been a Vikings fan since 1971. I barely remember the last Super Bowl in 1977. I've been a loyal fan, true and true. I get so tired of Vikings fans complaining about the lack of respect we need to start winning games. It's as simple as that. I agree. All this stuff about, and we kind of fed into it a little bit, but like, no one respects the Vikings. No one respects the Vikings. Well, then don't get beat at home by the Giants as a favorite on Wild Card Weekend. You don't deserve respect. Go earn your respect by getting to a Super Bowl for the first time since 1977. That should be as all fans, that should just be the motto here. The Vikings deserve no respect until they earn it by finally getting to a Super Bowl again.
Yeah, the playoffs, 13 wins was really nice. And the playoffs started, and we said, okay, prove it. And the Vikings were like, no, we're not going to. Like, it's hard to defend them now. I was trying before because you won 13 games, but my God, when you can't beat the Giants, if you had gone into San Francisco and lost a close game, I'd be like, okay, that's disappointing. But you know what? You won 13 games. You won your first round playoff game, KOC's first year. Okay, that's pretty good. But when you self-destruct against the Giants at home, it's really hard. I mean, what are you going to even say to defend this team? People melted down. The defense melted down. Kirk Cousins melted down.
I mean, the Vikings fans are the only ones that really fight this whole, they want to go to battle with the national perception. Like, this doesn't happen with the Twins. The Twins are trying to battle the local perception that respect us and pay attention to us just locally. But, like, if MLB Network is not talking about Luis Arraez, you're not going to get a blog talking about they're disrespecting MLB Network. They're not talking about that. That's not going to happen. It's only with the Vikings fans that this happens, that they want the national respect. Maybe because, the NFL is just all over the place, and they're the kings of the four major men's sports in the United States. But the Vikings fans are the only ones that do this. Like, Wild fans won't do this. The Wolves fans certainly won't do this. It's the only battle that the Vikings fans are trying to pick.
And it's a losing battle. The Vikings have earned their lack of respect. They have.
Yep.
And so it's time to go change that. this is actually going to be a really interesting year for O'Connell in that there's going to be the sort of this weight of change and regression, and one-score games aren't going to go your way as often. And how can you push back at that and still make the playoffs against a first-place schedule while trying to gain the respect of everyone? If Kevin O'Connell can coach this team, whatever this thing looks like next year, to 10 or 11 wins against the first-place schedule, I will have more respect even than this last year. So, all right, it's time for our Minnesota goodbye talker of the week here. Declan's got one for you guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, so a week ago on Friday, the gal and I orchestrated a kind of a last-minute double date with my friend and his girlfriend. And because we kind of orchestrated it last minute, we knew like, oh, we want to eat in Minneapolis, but kind of be a little tough to find a table for 4 at this hour, and my fiance was still running errands, so we were trying to figure out timing, and we finally locked down, hey, let's go to this place. I'll leave the place out of it. Like, we'll go here. This is a big enough spot. They should be able to accommodate a 4-person table. Let's lock into there. And so my buddy said he'll go there, he'll get the table, and we'll go from there. So I said, great. He arrives at the restaurant, gets a table for 4, texts me, goes, hey, I got a table for 4. You'll see us right when you walk in. You can't miss us. We'll see you there. And I said, great. I will be there ASAP. I'm just waiting on her to get home. When she gets home, we'll be there in 10 minutes. It was really close to our place. So about 5 to 10 minutes later, after the fact of the table being established, and we're going to go meet them, I get a text from my buddy that says, hey, change of plans. We're going to go eat down the street instead. And I said, oh, okay. Like, I really wanted to eat here. Like, this is where I wanted to eat. He said, yep, change of plans. We're going down the street. He's being very vague about the reasoning. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay. And I was like, well, like, why are you going down there? Like, we really want to eat here. And he replies back again, very vaguely goes, yep, sorry, just can't eat there. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why is this guy?
Are you guys like super good friends or?
Yeah, really good friend of mine. Really good friend. And he won't really pry the information of why he doesn't want to eat there. His girlfriend is a vegetarian, so I kind of thought, is it not a veg? Like, I was trying to deduct of why he didn't want to go out. But then I realized, no, we've eaten there with them before. Like, I know she likes this place. So I take a complete kind of educated stab in the dark of the reasoning of why. So I text him and I say, did you run into an ex-girlfriend? Like, what do you mean you can't eat there? And he replies back and goes, wow, like that was an incredible pull. That is exactly what happened. Like, an ex-girlfriend was at the restaurant. So eventually when we meet up with them, okay, long story longer, when we meet up with them, I want the play-by-play of, what do you mean? Like, you saw an ex, and I get it. Like, there's exes in my life that I would prefer not to run into. But was she already seated? Like, what was the order of operations here? So he claimed that he walked in, they get the table for 4 for me and my fiance to join them on this double date. Within those 5 minutes, his ex walked in and also got a table, not within earshot, but within eyesight of a pretty big restaurant. And he was too uncomfortable, and he got up and left. To which I, and I'm gonna ask you guys the same question. If I was already seated at a restaurant and it was a big enough spot, like if it's elbows to elbows, I guess that'd be kind of weird if I'm in earshot of the same conversations and vice versa. But if I arrived at a restaurant first, I'm not getting up and leaving for 2 reasons. Number 1, I was there first. And 2, me getting up and leaving and then that person seeing that, to me, that awards power to a person that I don't want to award power over me anymore in my life.
You can't leave the restaurant. You can't leave the restaurant in that situation. There's no reason to leave the restaurant.
I agree.
Who cares? You can't be in the same zip code as an ex-girlfriend?
I agree.
Does you have to be outside the city limits for you to enjoy a meal with some friends? Now, if you get seated, like if it's like crammed and you're literally like, you can hear each other's conversations, I could see how that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm on your side. I feel like this is
Do we know for sure that so he was with his girlfriend now though, right?
Correct. Yep.
Do we know for sure that she didn't object?
She didn't really care. She did not object.
Well, did he say that she didn't care?
Are you sure that?
Yes, because I asked both their opinions on this. Yep,
okay,
I pressed both of them on it.
Because the arm twisting.
Like within the first 5 minutes of me eventually sitting down with them, I was like, okay, give me the play-by-play here. Like, what happened? Like, who arrived first? Like,
maybe he's still kind of with the ex-girlfriend. Maybe there's a little.
No,
maybe it's not. Maybe the flame hasn't been extinguished yet.
I guess. I don't think that's the case with my friend, but
I don't know.
it
Yeah,
caused like
no,
a
I'm with you.
20-minute conversation at dinner of all of us giving our opinions. If we ran into this ex, we ran into this person, like, what have you got up and
Well,
leaving?
where
I
do you
said,
draw
I'm
that
not
line?
leaving.
So you walk into the grocery store and, oh my God, my
Yep.
ex is in the produce aisle. I guess I got to go to a
drop in the
different
bag.
grocery store.
I got to be
No,
honest.
live your life.
I got to be honest. If that place that you and the fiance wanted to go to and enjoy, and my friend pulled that stunt, I'd be like, dude, that's cool. We will be eating at the restaurant that we picked.
I'm with
So,
Judd on this. Yeah.
I'm not going to play into your childish games.
Correct.
And flat out, what your gal wanted is more important than your buddy.
Yeah.
Well, here's another question though. Was the dinner gathering more about, because this would, I guess I'm going to backtrack here, because a lot of times if we go out with friends, it's more about being with the friends than it is about where we go. Like we could go, whatever, we could go any number of different places. Was this more about for you, just for you guys? Was it about the restaurant or was it about hanging out with the friends? Because if it's about the restaurant, I'm with Judd, you got to tell your buddy, hey, we had our sights set on this thing. If you can't deal with your personal life, then
Right,
we'll just see it. We'll see you tomorrow night or see you next time.
So the funny part I would say it's about 50-50 in that split there, because the restaurant they were going to go to afterwards, after the whole kerfuffle, we can't eat there, we're going down the street, to the restaurant down the street was a restaurant we had no interest in, like zero interest in.
Dude,
To which
no.
I called back and I said, I'm not going to meet you at this new restaurant. If you're this is now becoming a curb situation. If you're uncomfortable with the original restaurant, I am suggesting a third restaurant. You can meet us there or not. We are going to eat here. So
And
that
then
is
you
what
get to the
happened.
third restaurant,
I think you should.
and
have
there's
gone
the
to
ex
your restaurant.
again.
Yeah.
I think you should have gone to your restaurant.
Well,
I really do.
The first option was great, and the third option was one of our regulars, and we said we're going to the third option. If you're uncomfortable, if you don't want to come to the third option because now you are going to go 3 different places, that's fine. But we will be here. If you want to come join us, come join us. They did come join us.
You get to the third place. There's Declan's
There's
ex.
another one.
Oh my
There's
God.
You know, I feel like this was first of all, congratulations, because I feel like you did do the right thing by balking at the second choice, and so you did establish the site of the meetup. But I feel like the first thing, Dex, I feel like that's a chance for you to establish a culture, and the culture is we are going to where we're going. Like, you guys are too old now for this crap.
I agree.
Yeah, dude,
No,
you're
I
30
agree.
now, man.
I
If
do
you were
agree.
18 or 20, okay, then it's uncomfortable. But
That's what I
you
said.
know, you're 30. You're gonna see a lot of
Yeah.
people you don't like. You're gonna and across the restaurant. Like, I think the Declan culture, as you and your future wife begin on your journey, the culture has to be, we're adults here. If you don't want to be an adult, that's cool. But then we're done as friends.
I am with you. No,
Wow,
I'm
so
with
Judd,
you.
you would have ended the friendship that night.
I would have been thrilled to get out of the thing.
I did tell him when he went, like I said, when he went down to the second restaurant down the street, I called him. I said, there's no chance we're going to that
Well,
restaurant.
good for you for that. I do
Because I
applaud
said,
that.
I'm not doing that. And I showed her the menu. I was like, look at this place. Do you want to eat here? And she literally, within 3 seconds, goes,
Good.
you.
No.
I'll
Good.
let you know off mic.
Okay.
If they're a proud
Good.
sponsor of Mackey and Judd and
I
Score
can't
North,
wait
you know.
until they become a sponsor.
If you if that had occurred with Dawn, she would not have deviated at all, because she picks the restaurant. She will look, I'm not joking, she will look at an online menu of a place that she's picked for a week.
Kelsey does
She'll
the
have
same
decided
thing.
what
It
I
drives
should
me
get.
nuts.
She'll have decided what she's
dude.
going to get. We will then get there, and she will vacillate on what she's going to get, but she knows what I should get, which, by the way, this might sound weird, I actually like, because she knows what I like. But I mean, if you were to basically go to the line of scrimmage of the dinner date and audible, Dawn would be like, she'd be like Ditka on Harbaugh in
Scripted play.
'93 at the Metrodome.
Getting comfortable with everybody.
Oh my God. Incredible. So yes, that was my dilemma.
Well, good for you. I do admire what
Amazing.
you did.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you drew a line partially in the sand, but there's maybe some room for improvement here. But yeah, all right. So yeah, what do you think about Declan's conundrum? Are you caving into your friend? Let us know in the YouTube comment section so we can pull the room here, or hit us up on Twitter where we're constantly just doom scrolling. Vikings doom scrolling.
He's 30 as well.
Yeah, he's the same age as me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
dude, when you
Yep.
when you're
That's too
30,
old.
yeah, when
I
you're
agree.
30,
I agree,
just,
man.
Just enjoy your night. For sure. Drink a couple old fashions. All right, that's Mackey and Judd here. Feedback Friday. We'll see you guys early next week.